Hey, I'm Bailey, and this is Savannah, and we're in this literary first year class, and we've got separation of church and state to do for our project, and Savannah's going to open us up on her first point.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This was a statement made by Thomas Jefferson in a letter he wrote to the Danbury Baptist Association in 1802, where he expressed his belief that religion was to be a personal matter. Jefferson stated that faith was between one citizen and his God and did not hold a place in the government. This excerpt from his letter later became the opening statement of the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Jefferson was a man with deep religious convictions, but he did not want these to be intertwined in the governing of the American people. His own beliefs were a private matter to him, and he wanted there to be a wall of separation between church and state. Because of this statement and his beliefs, we now have the Establishment Clause, which basically boils down to separation between church and state. These exact words are nowhere. These exact words are nowhere to be found in the American Constitution. However, the spirit of this statement is found in the Establishment Clause. And the common sentiment of the time was to agree that there should be no link between government and the church.
James Madison made a statement in a letter to Robert Walsh, an American diplomat, on his views of separation of church and state. Madison said, "The number, the industry, and the morality of the priesthood and the devotion of the people have been manifestly increased by the total separation of church and state." What he meant by this statement was that religion could survive and thrive by its own merit. The American government needed no sanction of religion to function, and neither does the church need a foot in the door of the government to thrive. Religion will forever be an influence on the people without playing a part in government because it will always be in society. Madison, as well as Jefferson, was a fervent believer in the separation of church and state.
People seeking freedom and democracy were the ones who formed the United States and set up its principles. During the 17th century, many people left Great Britain to escape religious persecution and intolerance from King Charles I of England.
He means the first.
Many came to the New World to practice their own religion. This is a key reason why we have freedom of religion today, because it is one reason America was needed in the first place.
Roger Williams, you've probably heard of him. He was one of these famous immigrants that came to the New World in search for religious freedom. He arrived in Boston in 1631 to join the American experiment. He founded Rhode Island and set it up to be a safe haven for religious toleration, separation of church and state, and political democracy. The United States would later be founded upon these principles.
In this modern era, there are many arguments being proposed by democratic and liberal minds that support the separation of church and state. One major reason is that theocratic governments are oppressive, closed-minded, radical, and leave no room for a developing culture, but are instead jailed by tradition of their religion. Countries such as Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the Vatican come to mind. This may or may not ring true depending on which religion is at the center, because a Christian theocracy and what?
Pause. You pause when the commas arrive? And
Okay,
say,
so because a Christian theocracy and a, say, Buddhist, or, okay, we can cut that out. Because a Christian theocracy and a, say, Buddhist or Muslim theocracy would be contrastingly different. However, it is a valid point to say that the freedoms of America would look very different if it were centered on religious doctrine. Whether this would be a good or bad thing is a matter of opinion, but the truth is we would not be the same America if church and state was not separate. What? It's not funny.
okay.
This is separation of church and state, you guys.
Gandhi once said that happiness is when you think... Wait. No, he didn't.
He didn't say that. She was just kidding.
Gandhi once said that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony.
True.
The pursuit of happiness is guaranteed to every individual in this country.
True.
A country that did not allow religious freedoms would take away the free will of the people and impose their belief systems on the people, thus hindering their personal happiness.
True. The United States is a democracy, meaning that the voice of the people is heard, and the government is run of the people, by the people, for the people. Like the famous words of Abraham Lincoln said. Say. Not said. Well, yes, said, because he did say them past tense.
Yes, he did.
Right, because he's dead. Anyway, democracy and theocracy cannot exist together when everyone serves a different entity. If church and state were not separate, the voice of those who believe otherwise would not be heard. In America, separate religions exist, and though Christianity is supposed to be the dominant, our government cannot respect one religion over another because of the First Amendment. Democracy says that we have freedom of religion, a wall of separation, and separation of church and state.
Because the free exercise of religious practices are allowed in this country, there have been loopholes found in the Constitution that allow certain religions to get away with things that would otherwise be illegal. For example, there was a court case, the Employment Division and Department of Human Resources in Oregon versus Smith. A man claimed that he used peyote, an illegal drug related to Native American Indian rituals and medicine performances, due to religious inspiration. He claimed that using peyote was a part of his beliefs, religious
Rituals. She meant rituals.
There we go.
Right.
And his way of life. The court ruled that the ban on peyote was a neutral law of general applicability and had nothing to do with religion, for the government was not imposing on the man's beliefs, but simply looking out for the general safety of the public. The public. The Employment Division and Department of Human Resources of Oregon won this case. However, it did stir that several loopholes could be found in the wording of certain parts of the Constitution. Another loophole is found in Social Security, where certain religious groups may have exemption from paying the tax due to ministers being consciously opposed to it because of their own beliefs.
We've wanted to ask someone from today to tell us what they knew about the separation of church and state. Robert Chandler Hankins, a funder and activist of the RNC, member of the Young Republicans of Alabama, Young Republicans of Mobile, and the White Rose Society of both the U.S. and Germany, offered to give us his input. We asked him what he knew about the beginning of religious freedom in the New World. He said that the Continental Congress was trying to sway the colonies to a diplomatic solution dealing with tearing away from the British Crown. The idea did not come from a state church, but the idea that every person should be allowed to speak openly on his beliefs without being threatened by the government. After this opening statement, we asked him if he believed that increasing secularity would make for a better democracy. His response was that this would definitely be the liberal argument. The conservatives would word it differently and say that the less government intrusion on church ideas is not only better for democracy, but better for the society as a whole. I, however, am still under God, whether my nation believes it or not. Dun dun dun! What? Interrupt this program.
Okay.
Just gonna know. Wait, I think it's video recording, like not catching up.
Yep. Stop.
Dun dun dun! You can't even do this!
Can't.
Okay. Dun dun dun! You're supposed to say it. You're supposed to say it. Wait, what do I say? We interrupt this program to give you a word from our Democratic sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States of America, Barack Obama, 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 Obama,
call him president. He's the next new president. He is senator from Illinois. Yeah, his criteria compared to John McCain's isn't fair, cause he's BLAC, so the eyes are on E. Through his pencil, he write legislation with the country on his mind, and he don't code-ish, cause he ain't got time every second, minute, hour. KKK wanna devour. He got guards ready to pop him with their choppers. Every brother, mother, sister, cousin, grandma wanna hump him. Even got Hillary Clinton on the side ready to jump him. Till the Clintons couldn't catch him, couldn't stop him. They go by the party rules. If you can't.
Sorry for that interruption from our Democratic sponsor. Back to the show. This is my dad, and we're asking him about his opinion on church and state.
I'm for both.
Why?
I like church, I like states.
Dad, you're supposed to tell us your opinion on the separation of church and state. Like, do you like it separated, or do you think that?
No, I like it separated. I think that the state should be separated. I think that government should be separated from religion.
For what reason?
Because not everybody shares the same religious beliefs as the people that are in power.
Okay, so then why is God's name on the dollar bill? It's in the pledge. It's in the...
Well, everybody doesn't... I don't know. But...
And that's the interview.
No, what I'm getting at is that, but everybody doesn't believe, although everybody may believe in God, or a lot of people may believe in God, they may not necessarily believe that the way to Him is the same. And for you to say that your way is, the way it's supposed to be, and by law it has to be that way, doesn't give them their freedoms.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.